Load2Learn, making curriculum materials accessible.
Hello, welcome to this Load2Learn video on downloading and installing free software. In this video, we will have a look at how to safely download free software and how to install free software without unwanted add-ons. First, let's have a look at some safe downloading tips. First, you should only download software from the software website, or choose a reputable software repository such as download.com. For example, if somebody recommended you to download some software and you search for it on Google, often you have a choice of downloading it directly from the website or from a download site. In this example, I searched for OrphanView, which is a very famous free image viewer, and you can see that I got the result that goes directly to the website or that goes to the download site. Preferably, you should go to the original software site first. Often, as here in the case of OrphanView, the free software will actually use a download repository such as download.com, Browsersoft, or FileForum. But it is best if you go to them from the homepage of the software. Also, sometimes when you search for an application, as in this case of the antivirus program AVG, which offers a free version, the first result may be the advertisement for the software, and only the second result is the actual link to the web page. The vast majority of the time, clicking on the advertising will take you to the same place, but very occasionally somebody else may have bought that advertisement and in fact take you to a different page. This could be for a non-malicious purpose, but it's best to be safe and click on the result that is not the ad. Another important thing when downloading free software is to avoid misleading download advertisements that you find on download pages. For example, this is a page where I was downloading the free screen reader NVDA, that stands for Non-Visual Desktop Access. At the top, as a plain link, I see a link to Non-Visual Desktop Access. But in a much more prominent, colorful image in the center of the page, I see Start Download. But that is actually an ad for downloading free software for converting videos. Sometimes it's a link to a paid software as well. Most of the time, this is perfectly safe. SourceForge, for example, is a very reputable software repository. But very occasionally, these ads can lead to dangerous websites. But at the very least, they cause you inconvenience because then you may download something that you were not planning on downloading. It is therefore best to pay good attention when you're on a download page so that you're downloading the thing you came to download and not something else by mistake. This can happen to everybody, but at least if you do make a mistake, you will know how it happened and how to get back and correct it. Now let's look at how to install software safely and without annoyances. First, some free software tries to install other free software, or very often a trial version of a commercial software, at the same time for promotional purposes. For example, if you try to download the latest version of the Adobe Flash Player, it will also offer you to install the McAfee Security Scan Plus. You may want to do that, but you probably already have an antivirus and do not need that as an option. Unfortunately, Adobe ticked that by default, therefore you have to untick that option if you don't want to install McAfee alongside Flash. Other software may try to install browser add-ons, such as a toolbar, or change the default search in your browser to a different search engine, or change your home page. Sometimes you may want to do that, because the toolbar may provide you useful services, but most people do not actually use these toolbars and they simply take up space on their computer. Also, there is no harm in having a different search engine. They generally use a Google service where they get a small cut from Google or another service provider such as Bing on any searches you make where you click on an ad. And there is nothing wrong with that. But sometimes the search services are not as full featured. And most of the time you probably do not want to change your homepage either. So as you're installing this software, you should be careful to untick all of these options if they are ticked by default, which most of the time they are. Most of the time, these additional sponsored offers do not actually cause you any harm, but they should always be optional. If you cannot choose not to install these additional services, then I would recommend that you do not install that software and look for an alternative. Free software writers use all of these tricks to help support their website and their work. Even though it's relatively cheap to host a website, these days, but for very popular software, this can be very expensive as well as time-consuming. So if you do not use any of the advertising options, see if you could support free software by donating, or at least by contributing to the community around the software, such as writing guides for using it, or simply blogging about using it, and submitting bug reports to the author. But please do it in a polite way, recognizing that you are getting something for free, and acknowledging the good service that this person provides. Here's an example of how free software, in this case NVDA, is asking for donations without trying to trick you to downloading something you don't want to. And they force you to make a choice whether you want to donate or not every time you download. But you're under no obligations to do so, particularly because NVDA is not only free but also open source, which means anybody can distribute it. During installation, some software sets new defaults for opening files. For example, when I was installing OrphanView, it asked me to become the default for opening all image files, or even some other files such as video files. And here you should spend some time thinking about what you're using this software for. In this case, I chose images only, but sometimes I would just choose none. Some software does this without asking you, but you can always change the defaults later. If you want to change the default later, simply right-click on the file that you want to open, and instead of opening it directly, choose Open With, and there you can choose the application you want to open with. You can choose the application only once, or if you click on Choose Default Program, you can choose the one that you want to open that file by default. Here are some final tips on using free software. First, only install software that you explicitly asked for. If something pops up on your computer that you don't know why, choose Cancel or hit the Escape key. Occasionally, that may cancel something you don't want to cancel, but you can always go back and do it again. You should also consider using portable versions of the software you use. This will allow you to use them on multiple computers or carry them around with you on your USB drive. A good place to get portable apps or portable versions of non-portable apps is portableapps.com. We have a special video that describes how to use portable apps. And finally, when you use free software, you should read the license to understand what rights you have. Some free software is open source, which means that anybody can distribute it as long as they abide by the terms of the license. Other software is simply freeware, which means you can use it for free, but you cannot distribute it without the permission of the author. There may also be some restrictions on whether you can use this software for personal purposes only or for any reason at all. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching. For more tutorials or information about Load2Learn, please visit load2learn.org.uk or contact us on 0300 303 8313. Copyright 2012 Dyslexia Action and RNIB. Licensed under the Creative Commons license by attribution for non-commercial purposes and shared alike.